Hello, hello, and happy Fri-yay, July 18th, 2025. I am Manila Chan. That over there is Ted Rall. You are tuned into the Ted Manila Information Show. We are short a producer today, so we apologize for any delays with our technical difficulties. So we appreciate you being here. We are the TMI Show, the Ted Manila Information Show. We bring you too much information. Sometimes it really is too much, like real TMI. Like you may not want to hear about it, but you're gonna. But we have some laughs along the way. So if you're new here, welcome. Make sure you hit that like and the subscribe button wherever you are catching this program. It goes a long way to helping our little show continue to grow. We're live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. So be here or be square, as they used to say. I don't know what they say anymore. We have a lightning fast show today because somebody's got an appointment. Actually, it's not mine, it's my mom's. But I got to take mama to an appointment. And I wish I was here for yesterday's show because have I got some things to say about HOAs? Whole lot. Partially why you guys didn't have me yesterday, Ted. But on today's show, we're going to rush through Trump's new rescission package that is the inspiration, the inspo behind the death of Big Bird. We'll tell you what's happening there. And potentially the deaths of a lot more people because of the budget cuts. We'll talk about a weed farm. Boo, an arrest at a weed farm that was not cool. And why, these migrant roundups that they're doing in California, like this is a prime example of why this is a bad thing. Not to mention, God, the damage at the weed farm. Then a surprise cancellation. CBS, my old employer, letting go of Stephen Colbert. We'll get the details behind that. And lastly, we're going to take a look at the New York subway system because there was another subway train theft. Who does that?
Why pay the fare when you can get the car for free?
Just take the whole car. Maybe she escaped the weed farm raid.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. So with that, let's jaws it and get into the news because we got to go lightning fast today. Here we go.
So what's going on here is that there was already previously $9 billion allocated to the $1 billion allocated to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and a total of $9 billion that was going to NPR, PBS, and all the member stations in the PBS and NPR family. But Congress has now decided to rescind that $9 billion in spending, which means that they're going to be hard up for money. At the same time that happened last night, there was a vote-a-rama in the U.S. Senate where all but one amendment protecting a program called PEPFAR failed. Now, PEPFAR is basically a Bush administration era program that we don't give a lot of credit to Bush for, but he deserves for. Basically, it's for AIDS prevention in Africa, and it's a good program, but it barely passed. Everything else got rescinded. The House followed 216 to 213 to support that Senate action. So what does that mean? So that $1 billion that goes to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and people like you, as they always say, funds over 1,500 local public radio and TV stations. NPR CEO Catherine Marr called it an irreversible loss. I don't know if they can give away enough tote bags to make up $1 billion, potentially leading to reduced programming and operations, especially for the smaller stations. It also rescinds $7 billion in foreign aid, with the exception of PEPFAR. Democrats, led by Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, of course, predictably criticized these votes as an attack on the bipartisan appropriations process, because this is something that's actually never happened before. Normally when funds are allocated, that's it. And, if one of the two parties wants to cut funding to a program, or a department or a bureau. They do it, but for future terms. They don't go back and yank money that's already in the pipeline like they're doing here. And Schumer's saying, all right, this is what you guys, how you guys want to play. You want to play rough? Well, we can play rough too, and we will, and we'll get even with you guys for this action. So I think there's two big stories here, Manila. It's the effect, the budget cuts on PBS and NPR, and also the again further reduced comity, not to be confused with comedy, in the U.S. Senate, where the way that things used to always be done are not being done that way anymore.
Yeah, so I'm of two minds of these budget cuts for public broadcasting. On the one hand, I agree with what Caroline Levitt said, that stations like NPR have become a left-wing propaganda arm, which...
Oh, Manila, come on, let's define our terms here.
Well,
show me the
Democrat.
Socialists. Where's Jamal Thomas? Isn't working there. I'm not working
Democrat.
there.
But they she's the Trump White House, so
liberal. Let's just say Democratic. Okay.
Yeah, she's. They often don't understand the difference, the nuance between true leftists.
They understand
the true leftists, but that's what she said. So I'm quoting her, that she's saying that it's become a liberal propaganda arm, a leftist propaganda arm, which, okay, to that effect, I get what she's saying is that, yeah, NPR, besides their boring delivery like this at all hours of the day, or even whispering like this, besides that, like, that's not my thing. I'm on the go, man, so I don't want to listen to that. But when they're talking to you like this, Ted, they're telling you about how awful Trump is because he wants to grab women by the poo. And so I get it. I agree. I on that part, like, there is no balance in the news there. It's very left leaning. I have a friend who applied for a job there, after RT shuttered, and he felt that they deliberately yanked his chain just to drag him in and in and in for multiple interviews. And then when I guess the higher ups, when he got to the final stage, that they realized that he was coming from RT and they had a shit fit. And he's somebody that works in marketing. So that what they were afraid that, I don't know, some Russian aligned marketer. I don't know what they were thinking, but he said it was very, very clear that they suddenly were like, oh, wait, we not like Russia. Russia bad. NPR say Russia bad. So that was, their take on it towards the end when they realized, oh shit, he spent years at RT. So I get Trump's position on that NPR is very slanted to one side, and not often very fair. But unfortunately, it affects PBS, which I think is a great old institution. I mean, not that old; it's only like 50 years old, but it has great children's programming that everybody that is listening now grew up on, right? Like, I think Sesame Street, sure, have they added a few too many socially woke monsters to the lineup? Maybe. Maybe. But
well, like me, I haven't seen that stuff in since I was 10.
Like, your son? You didn't have your son watching Sesame Street?
Nah. I don't care for Sesame Street, honestly.
All kids watch Sesame Street at one point, like Elmo and all that. But I'll tell you, it's not the Sesame Street that, when I was a kid or when you were a kid. So it's certainly different, but still, what's worse besides the PBS thing is that these rural communities, that's kind of like, they don't have a lot of local TV networks, right? So the local PBSs are pretty much their version of local news. So we're talking places like, Robbie's not here, but like
Montana.
in Native American communities.
Well, or like Lisa Murkowski of Alaska was talking about
Or
how this is
far-flung
going to affect,
places.
yeah, like places that you can only reach. There aren't even roads that connect these towns. You have to fly from one to the other. Look, people are going to die as a result of this. Most of them are going to be conservatives. And what's going to happen is because of radio syndication and amalgamation in the private radio space, I'm going to focus first on radio. There are radio news deserts all over the United States, particularly in rural areas. So there used to be, back in the old days, if you were let's say in the Texas Panhandle or whatever, you had a local little station that served your area. And now that station may still be there. In fact, it probably still is, but there's probably literally nobody there. It's literally like the Buggles song, radio, video, kill the radio star. And so literally, and in that song, if you listen to the lyrics very carefully, they talk about like robot stations taking over. Well, now that's real. So what happens is your little like, hey, this is KJXY, the voice of Central Abilene, is piped in from some big conglomerate like Cox Radio Cox Communications in Atlanta. It's generified. So you will hear the same programming, in Abilene as you will in Tuscaloosa, as you will in Ashtabula, and so forth, right? And so, okay, big deal. And it doesn't really matter that much, except when, say, your local mayor is corrupt and there's no one to report about it. And it also...
Or a road is flooded out.
Or there's a tornado warning. And radio is the first line of defense for a tornado warning. And so, you have like minutes to act. Trust me, I know. I survived a tornado in Ohio. It's like, so you are... It's one of those things like, people are going to, like, you think about the Texas Hill Country floods. They didn't have those stations either. They'll also be affected. So people are going to die in natural disasters because of this Republican decision. If Democrats have any brains whatsoever, they'll, figure out some effective ads to, showing people like, I lost my little girl in a flood. Because the Republicans, if they have if they're smart, they'll do that. I don't know that they're
look
smart.
At this map here, Ted. That's from PBS NewsHour. These are the rural public media stations most dependent on federal funding. And
it's not going to affect me here at WNYC in New York City.
But if you look at
tons of coverage,
down at the bottom left there, that's Alaska, and it has the most dots. Because
up there in
all
northern
the stations,
California, where nobody really lives up there.
All the stations except weed farms. All the stations in Alaska. I mean, look at all those dots. Those are the ones that are most dependent.
Look at the Dakotas. Look at Nebraska, the Plains states. All of these. If you look at the state of Minnesota, that's northern Minnesota, right? It's not southern Minnesota where there's Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Duluth.
Or way up north in Montana where Robbie is, but way up north at the Canada border.
That's right. So so it's going to have that effect. The thing is, I'm really torn about it too. On the one hand, I don't really I'm sympathetic to the idea that like half the country shouldn't have to pay for programming that they're not sympathetic to. On the other hand, half the country has to pay for military wars that they don't really approve of either.
Right.
So there's that. But
there is a public good to this, right? To public broadcasting.
Look, it's state media. Here's the thing: all big countries have state media, right? Russia has RT and Sputnik. China has their thing, their CNTV, CGTN, right? And then there's CBC in Canada, ABC, the Australia Broadcasting Corporation, and obviously most famously the BBC. There's TF1 in France, and on and on and on and on. So to be a real country, you have state broadcasting, right? So we're getting rid of that. It's also where, honestly, there's all sorts of stuff like Ken Burns documentaries that just wouldn't appear anywhere else. That's intellectual and educational. There's no other source of educational television, for example, than PBS.
Not free.
Well, yeah, exactly. There's the occasional nature special on cable or whatever, but it's still not the same degree. So, on the other hand, I also happen to know that there's a lot of squandering of money, particularly, like, for example, all those salaries are public. People who work at PBS and NPR, because they receive public funds. So the local talk show hosts here in New York City, who are, by the way, really good at what they do, but they make over $600,000 a year. Now,
holy cow,
that's more than the president of the United States.
That's exorbitant.
And I'm like thinking, now, could you get, say, am I as good as they are? Yeah, I'm as good as they are. Would I take that job for $80,000? Sure, I would. And so the point is, it's like, now, I don't like, I'm not the kind of person who says, oh, you don't deserve $600,000 for doing a great job. Sure you do. If you work at a for-profit entity and the money's rolling in.
If you're at Fox.
But you're begging for money, like you're literally like, please send money. We're all going, Big Bird's going to die. And it's like, and you're literally cutting off your programming every quarter to beg money. You can't pay you should not pay anyone there, even the CEO, $600,000 a year.
I just went to visit a friend that works at the local PBS at the WIDA station. And they own a big building, and the CEO, or I don't know what her title, the chairwoman of the local station is, I forget the first name, but she's one of the Rockefeller daughters. And they recently renovated the entire building.
Where is this?
Here in DC.
Okay. Oh, well,
local WIDA.
I've been on All Things Considered in studio live in DC. That is a sumptuous, luxurious.
So studio. I was just there a couple weeks ago.
With the WNYC studios here in New York City, down on Jarrett Street by the entrance to the Holland Tunnel. Also sumptuous.
This was nicer than and we had a state-of-the-art studio at RT.
Oh yeah.
And our studio is arguably nicer than the Fox DC, or not Fox local. I mean, like Fox corporate here in DC. The WIDA station took the freaking cake. The news anchors that were there, their offices, like they had like a whole wing of the building named after Gwen Ifill, and the longtime news anchor at PBS. Karen Rockefeller, or Karen, I don't know if it's Karen. Rockefeller, Mrs. Rockefeller. Ms. Rockefeller has like the whole penthouse, half of that floor as her office that has a private bathroom and bedroom, like whole thing. And everything is kitted out, Ted, with Herman Miller. Every chair in that entire building, Ted.
Real ones or knockoffs?
No. I looked at the labels and they still had fresh tags hanging from them.
Whoa.
These were real Herman Miller chairs. Anyone that knows, like, that is like the chair to have. Like, these office chairs are like $600-700 at least a piece if you're buying in bulk. And so that's what I'm talking about, is everything in there was top of the line, amazing. And I was thinking, what the F? This is a PBS station? Like, how can this, how? And they pay their anchors really well. And I thought, what the hell? You guys are begging for money, and you claim that you only get a small portion from public funding, but this is how you spend it? And then everything had a name from the donors on there, right? Like the makeup room was named after somebody. This control room was named after somebody. So I get I get why conservatives would be angry about this, because I saw it firsthand just a couple weeks ago. And I was shocked. I imagine that there'd be people splurging, but not like this, Ted. Like, this is, so I don't know. With what Trump is doing here, the least they could have done was do budget cuts, not completely decimate the whole program. This will decimate, not for people in DC, because there's always going to be people donating to big places like New York City, DC, LA. But this is just, wow. But it's going to hurt these rural places that we showed on the map a moment ago. And furthermore, what I read that Trump's plan was, when these places go under, Ted, have you seen what their plans are?
No.
That it's a proposal right now, was that when these when these satellite towers go dark, inevitably, that the government will officially wholly take them over, and that supposedly
They can't do
when
that. They can't
there's
do
an
that, Manila. I
emergency,
mean, he's
that's what they're
high
looking for.
because they don't
That's what they're
belong.
looking for.
They don't
But
belong
they
to the
say
government. These
they
are
say that,
these are privately owned. Okay.
but they say only for use of like emergencies. So for example, like the earthquake that just happened this week in Alaska, that then the government would be able to use their signal on their towers to put
That's
out the
not true.
emergency.
They wouldn't be able to do that. So
I don't know what the law is
people
there.
don't understand how NPR works, right? So NPR is all these stations, TV and radio stations, are independently owned. So for example, there's TED Corp owns one station, Manila Corp owns another one, and like then we become members of the NPR community and the PBS community, and then we buy programming from the national feeds. So, for example, you'll hear like, on PRI, there's that's a corporation that produces programming. So, for example, if you listen to Brooke Gladstone and On the Media, that show is produced by a private company. Then it's that. So, like, let's say at Manila Corp, at Manila's at WMLA, can then run that and run Brooke Gladstone. And also you could be like, but here in my locality in Virginia, I'm going to also hire a local Virginia talk show host to come in and talk about Virginia state politics or whatever.
Right.
So that's how it works. Like, so you own the station. So let's say you go bankrupt because the government cuts off, and I go bankrupt and cuts off all our funding. Well, we still own. You still own WMLA. I still own WTED. But what happens is, so the government can't just say, "Fuck you, Ted and Manila. We're taking over your airwaves." I mean, yes, the FCC licenses the use of the bandwidth on like FM or AM radio, but that's not the same thing. They can't just take it over. So
yeah,
unless
I read.
Unless I'm willing to sell to the government,
right?
They're making shit up.
That's one of the preliminary ideas I read that Trump threw out there. Why can't we just take it over? And
I don't know. Why can't I fly?
And use it for emergency?
Why can't I flap my wings and fly downtown instead of having to ride the subway like everyone else? Because I'm not a bird, and also these are not publicly held entities. That's why.
Well, he doesn't understand how things work, obviously. So he's just talking out of his ass. But then, so the lady that's the president of the CPB, I always confuse it with the
BVD,
BBDV. I don't know. The lady that's the president of the public broadcasting. She responded to this idea that leaked. And she's like, that's not how this works. You can't do that. She said, that puts us one step closer to full state-run media.
Right.
And that all you're going to hear is
of what they're trying to accomplish anyway. No, what will happen is, like, if WTED and WMLA, in my little example, go under, is that we will either shut the door and it'll be abandoned with a piece of plywood over the broken window, and no one will ever use it again before the tower falls over from rust one day, or we'll sell it to a private company, right? That's one of those two things will happen. And
Ted, if these go under, we should start a GoFundMe and buy a satellite.
Well, I do think there's a future in terrestrial radio because nobody else thinks there's a future in it. Terrestrial radio still does stuff that you can't do any other way. It has the ease of simplicity, especially for people who are driving around. I listen to terrestrial radio every day, NPR. Anyway, we've got stuff to do.
Yeah, we got to move.
All right. So George Retas is a 25-year-old U.S. Army veteran, also a full-fledged U.S. American citizen. But that didn't stop him from getting arrested and brutalized by ICE. This all went down July 10th during an ICE raid against a weed farm in Camarillo, California, where he worked as a security guard. Camarillo. The feds surrounded his car, broke his window, pepper sprayed him, and dragged him out, even though he told them that he was a citizen. They threw him into the Metropolitan Detention Center in LA without charges.
That place is no fun.
An Asian guy famously almost died there because they didn't give him any food or water. He had to drink his own piss for several days.
God.
And he almost died. So yeah, it's a crazy place. Anyway, they didn't allow him access to a lawyer or a phone call in violation of his civil rights, or to reach out to his family. They didn't let him take a shower or change his clothes, even though he was slathered with poisonous pepper spray. And so he was itching like crazy and had an allergic reaction.
Horrible.
He was placed on suicide watch, though. They did that for him. Anyway, then 3 days
to help
later,
him like they
they're
helped Jeffrey Epstein.
Exactly. 3 days later, they're like, "You're free to go, Mr. Reddies." But they didn't say they were sorry. They didn't say that he faced any charges. HomeSec said, yeah, we arrested the fucker, whatever, who cares? So he's going to sue for wrongful detention. Good for him. He'll win, obviously. This raid was a clusterfuck. They arrested 360 people, and one of the workers was so scared by the ICE goons that he fell off the roof and died. So they basically killed him. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then, this Army vet who was talking to Military Times said that this could happen to anyone, that the ICE doesn't give a shit if you're a citizen or even if you're a military veteran and who served your country, that basically they're just going after, if you look Latino, they're coming for your ass. And he said everyone should be scared. And I agree with him.
I agree. I mean, this is the danger of what we've been saying.
By the way, fuck those ICE guys. Like the New York Post and right-wing media, like Fox, has been like trying to portray them as like victims. And there was one guy, some ICE guy in the Post, he went to arrest someone and tried to break the guy's car window. This is their shtick. And the guy got scared and hit the gas. Well, so the ICE agent got dragged by a block. And they showed his injuries in the paper, right? Feel free to look. I mean, honestly, the way this guy is whinging, they kill people, as we just heard. The guy honestly, it's a minor rash. No big deal, okay? I've suffered far worse falling off my bike in New York.
So not like serious road rash.
No, not at all. He must have been wearing some clothes. This is what got through. I mean,
So
honestly, I don't even know why he's hospitalized. It's like, dude, put some lidocaine on there.
Well,
and shut
Ted,
up.
it's just
and
like
also, we're not going to feel sorry for these guys.
It's like at the Colombia protests, the Gaza protests, where the Zionist student was saying that she got jabbed in the eye, and then she went on the news the next day and her eye was totally fine. She's like, I was almost blinded. I was in the hospital. She went to the hospital. There was like nothing wrong. And she was literally on Fox less than 24 hours later.
Yeah.
Same thing. You just make a spectacle and milk it and try to sue people. But if you look on screen, this is from that Camarillo raid. They are in military vehicles. Look at this thing. And then this guy is he's a protester.
He's Tiananmen squaring it there.
He is, but look what they're doing. Did you see that? They're moving forward on him.
Yeah, they don't care.
So because unlike the Chinese, they were just going to run him over.
Yeah. The Chinese soldiers have decency.
So they stopped.
I mean, I'm not kidding.
Stopped.
No, they're not.
We're not kidding.
Civilized.
We're not kidding. That's the sad part is we always portray these Chinese commies, they'll just kill everybody.
Be really clear here. So there's no confusion. Like when I run for political office in the future, I don't give a shit what happens to these ICE guys. Quit your job. Quit your job. You're an immoral, bad person. Quit your fucking job. Get a real job. Cut the shit. We all hate you. You're not doing anything important. How you do things matters. There's no sense of fair play here. You're not identifying yourself. You're not. Right. You're not giving people their rights. You're not letting them talk to their lawyer.
Why are they in these vehicles?
You're imprisoning people who shouldn't be in prison.
Vehicles.
Yeah.
Look at them, Ted. This is what they look like. Look at them. They're look goons. Like soldiers.
Yeah.
They look like soldiers, not ICE agents. These guys are in full combat gear, showing up to a weed farm.
Yeah.
What kind of resistance did you think you were going to find at a weed farm? Think about it.
It's...
if you think about it.
Yeah, no, it's so
It
true.
would make sense. Like, what kind of resistance were you expecting? Look at these guys. They're fully armed. They have their mags all lined up on their chest. Look, this is what a weed farm looks like, right? What kind of resistance did you think, or danger did you think you were going to face? And who were you there to scoop up? This is the danger, is that you can't just go rounding up everybody in front of Home Depot or rounding up everybody that works at a farm.
It's illegal. It violates the Fourth Amendment
cannot.
Right against unreasonable search and seizure. They can't profile you. If they have a reason to think that you're illegal, absolutely, they can come and arrest you.
Like Jorge Salazar or whatever, Mr. Rodriguez, you go in and you look for Mr. Rodriguez. That's who you're finding. Like that, you don't go scooping up hundreds of people and hope to shake out the ones that you can keep, right?
But that's what they do, and you and I both know it. I mean, you drove around in the Southland. I drove around in the Southland, and like there were always these INS, roadblocks on the interstate. And and the cops would look through the window, and if you looked like me, they're like, keep going.
Right. But looking like me, I did that on Interstate 8 almost every weekend, traveling between Yuma, Arizona, and going back to Los Angeles almost every weekend.
Your Mexican flag probably didn't help. And also, an MS-13 rules bumper sticker probably wasn't awesome.
Yeah, I probably should not have had those on my bumper.
The Trend-a-Rama t-shirt, not the best fashion choice.
That's true. They probably did not appreciate
it's
that.
The band, dude. It's the band from the 90s, Trend-a-Rama.
Every weekend.
Great.
Every weekend.
They played for the open for Yola Tango.
They opened up my car, opened up my trunk. I guess somehow they trusted just hearing me speaking. I guess they trusted that I was a citizen. They didn't never ask for documentation.
Stupid. Yeah.
But they definitely always.
And by the way, there's no ID law in this country, right? So in France, in a lot of other countries, the cops can pull you over and they demand your ID. And if you don't have it, that's against the law, and they can take you to jail while they try to figure out who you are. The United States isn't like that. You don't have to have ID at all, and you can walk. Well,
I was driving.
You have to have a driver's license to drive, right? But that's it.
But you have no unless.
But let's say let's say you had a passenger. Let's say you had a passenger in your car, and the cops wants to talk to him. The cop, you can just be like, "Eat shit, officer." Yeah.
I've done that before in Newport Beach, because Ted, God forbid, I had black friends in my car.
No, what? Even though you weren't black?
Even though I wasn't black. So they rolled down the window. It was a DUI checkpoint, and they had me roll down the window.
No,
they saw a little.
Haven't you seen like the TV, the radio, the ads for the phone company? How only people from one ethnicity are allowed to call each other on the phone in the split screen?
I've not seen that. Well, I'll tell you, this was a DUI checkpoint.
Americans, no problem. But if one's Cambodian and the other one's Laotian,
Well, at this DUI checkpoint, I remember my two male black friends, and they're big dudes, right? And one small Asian woman. They roll down the window at the DUI checkpoint, or I roll down the window. They see me, and they look around, and they go, "Miss, are you okay?" And I was like, "Yes."
I've been kidnapped by these large men. These
two large black men in my car, and we're heading to a friend's party. And I probably, I kind of cracked a joke, and I was like, your checkpoint's a couple hours too early. We're just now heading to the parties. And then my friends were like, "Shut up," because they've had different experiences with cops than I have. And so the cops go around to the other side and try to demand that my friend, big black dude, show ID. And I say, no, officer. I was like, "I'm sorry, but does my friend here look like a suspect that you're looking for, or is this a DUI checkpoint?" And my friend was just like frozen, because he was like, "Oh shit, I'm going to get Rodney Kinged or whatever." And stupid Manila's opening her big fat mouth. But anyway, I brought up some valid points, and I said, unless you can show me that you're looking for somebody that fits my friend's description, are we free to go? Are we under arrest? No. Are we being detained? No. Okay, are we free to go? Fine, yes. And he waved us on.
Yep.
But my friend was like, holy fuck. The only reason they allowed us to go is because you're the one driving.
Yeah, that's correct.
Probably.
Hey, let's keep going. So speaking of TV and radio, CBS is canceling the Colbert Show. It's going to come to an end in May. This is, of course, also the culmination of The Late Show. Well, I don't think we have to say next May since we're in July. So, and May is over. So next May.
Yeah.
May is next May, right? There's always confusion like that. Like next week after next. Anyway, The Late Show began with Letterman back in '93. This will be the end of that as well. They said it was due to money. They said that the late night TV shows are not as profitable as they used to be. Colbert told his audience during a taping last night. He thanked CBS for running it, said that he was bummed out about the whole thing, said that he just found out the previous night. Should be noted that Colbert did criticize the payment of $16 million by CBS's parent company, Paramount, to Trump. So Adam Schiff and a few other people have said, well, maybe this was political. CBS says, nah, we don't do political decisions. Everything's financial here. Anyway, this is still the top-rated late-night TV program, so it's a little puzzling with 2.4. Well, if you're the top-rated show, 2.4 million viewers.
I thought Greg Gutfeld was kicking their asses, or maybe this is terrestrial TV. Maybe
this must be terrestrial. Yeah,
must be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
yeah. Because Gutfeld, if you do all shows in that time slot, it was shocking. I was shocked that like the last 2 or 3 years, Gutfeld.
By the way, I think he's a very
everybody.
Talented guy, but I think his show sucks. And
I'm not into the show.
I kind of think he's funny on the 5 and stuff, but he's really But he's not. And
I was shocked that show
also. But
kicked their asses.
I don't think Colbert is any good either. I actually hate the format. I think Colbert was very funny when he was when he had his little before he had his own show. But
when he was a correspondent on the Daily Show,
yes,
that was funny. He was hilarious.
But
I even liked the Colbert Report. I thought that was funny.
Yeah,
in the early 2000s,
pretty funny.
Mid 2000s. I thought it was a good show. Yeah. But then when he came to late night on mainstream TV, he totally lost his teeth. And I get it. I worked for CBS. I get it. I've been there.
Yeah.
They really do. They really.
Yeah, it's like for me, it's like writing for the New York Times op-ed page. They suck the life out of every word.
Ted, I wasn't allowed to wear anything that was more than like a cap sleeve versus like a full like short sleeve. There's a difference between short sleeve and cap sleeve. You're not allowed to wear sleeveless or cap sleeve. It had to come down more than
that the sleeveless,
like an inch from your elbow.
The sleeveless top is the outfit of the tramp and the harlot.
It is, yes.
Speaking of which, as Balzac would say.
So by CBS rules, Manila was a harlot.
That's right.
Because I wore a short sleeve dress on air once. Oh my word.
A true skank, a true whore of Babylon.
Harlot. Mm-hmm. CBS. So I don't entirely blame Colbert losing his teeth on him.
No. That's going to happen. Outlet. That's the thing, right? Like if you're in that situation, right? That's a classic dilemma for a creative person like him. If I was his friend, I'm sure he considered this, right? It's kind of like, okay, well, they're offering you more money than God. So, not to mention this high profile, very
but now they're saying it's a financial decision and not because
but he was still paid
not
a lot of money. He was paid a lot. And so, that's really.
So what's the real reason then? Did they try? He sounded like he was blindsided by this. They only told him the night before. Could they have renegotiated if it was a financial thing? Could we renegotiate your contract? So what's the real reason here? I'm kind of suspect.
Well, I don't know is the short version. It's kind of like the Epstein files. Who fucking knows anything? But clearly, there's probably a little more to it than, I'd be curious. Like the the network obviously knows what they're going to put in there to replace him. So
They
see
must.
what it
Well,
is.
they
I
said
mean,
they're
they
killing the
might
whole
be
show.
thinking they might like be getting rid of they might decide that late night, weeknight comedy is no longer a thing. I wouldn't, I personally never liked the format. I thought that
not even under Letterman here.
Not really. No, I mean, I think these are all guys who did what they could. First of all, I don't like opening monologues. I think opening monologues are stupid. I think memorized canned jokes are stupid. They're corny. They remind me of Bob Hope and shit. It's just sort of like it's
a bygone era.
It's old timey. Yeah, I don't like it. I mean, what do I know? But I feel like the audience is maybe the audience agrees with me, and they just don't want to watch it. I mean, we need more satire, we need more comedy, but to me, comedy's getting edgier all the time. And
I think that's it. And when you had Colbert during COVID doing dancing vaccines and doing like public service announcements for vaccines, I think that, to me, that put me over, and I was like, I just can't watch this garbage. It's just, I can't.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, look, comedy isn't funny when it's establishmentarian. That's part of the problem with Gutfeld, right? Is that it's, I don't think Gutfeld can possibly be funny under a Republican administration, because if you're not making fun of whoever the powers that be are,
right?
I mean, look, you take shit for it. When I'm a left cartoonist, and when I made fun of Obama and Biden mercilessly, I was viewed as a traitor to the cause. But I'm like, no, I'm just doing my job, assholes. Fuck you.
Yeah.
And but a lot of people, they can't do it. Obviously, Gutfeld can't appear on Fox and savage Trump. Okay, but he should. Right. He should. He could do it from the right, but the point is, he should. And I don't know. And all those shows like Colbert, they're so namby-pamby establishment. They're so boring, really.
Yeah, I think the market has changed, and that's why podcasting is so big. People want
they want the
authenticity. Mm-hmm. They want authenticity. They want you to be the real you. They want you to be open and honest about your thoughts, your opinions, even your weird little quirks, like your coughs. They want to see realness and not this prepackaged.
Your almost sexual love for your cat. Which we're not talking about that topic, right? But
they want
that one hit the cutting room floor.
Maybe. Yeah. But the point is, they want authenticity, and that is what the audience demands now. And I think, with CBS citing a financial decision to can the entire show, they're not canning Stephen Colbert, they're canning the entire show.
Right.
I think
they're going to go to a different format.
They have to, because mainstream media has to reckon with the fact that podcasting is the biggest type of platform.
Like, we know that all the executive, we know that the C-suite at CBS News, at BlackRock, we know you guys all watch the TMI show every morning.
Obviously.
So thank you, by the way, for your support. And also, but my suggestion would be, do an Adult Swim type thing in that segment. Have a bunch of 15-minute animated shorts by cartoonists of all stripes, and have it be wild and crazy, because kids aren't watching at that hour. Every other country in the world has a political satire of its first family. Either like Russia has that famous show with the puppets of Putin and Medvedev and all that. France has one. They all do. The Dutch have it. Germans have it. Whether it's
I don't know.
Whether it's
late
animated
over,
or not.
That era.
Yeah.
I think that era is just over. So now, speaking of which, we got to go to our last topic, because I got to run.
You do.
But we're going to stay in New York City, because I've never been to this theater where David Letterman. What's it called? The Ed Sullivan Theater.
The Ed Sullivan Theater. I assume that's because the Ed Sullivan Show used to be filmed there.
Yeah,
I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's named after him. I've never been here. I know it's not at 30 Rock. Obviously, that's a NBC.
No, it's over on Broadway and the low 50s.
Oh, I've never seen even where the building was. So I always wondered.
It's on the west side of Broadway.
Oh, okay. Well, speaking of New York City, this.
Yeah, so if you remember the Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, it was considered outlandish in the early 1970s when they made the movie based on the novel that someone might want to steal a subway. But these days it's happening all the time. So the latest theft of a subway train here in New York just took place on July 17th. That was yesterday at 4:30 in the morning. This happened in Queens. A chick with red dreadlocks, we see so many of them, broke into an N train at the Broadway station in Astoria and decided to just take it one stop to 36th Avenue Station. There's no damage whatsoever to the train or to the tracks. No signs of forced entry, although
So it was just open?
No, she probably had a key. People steal the keys to these things. And
key to a subway train.
Well, I will confess that sometimes transit workers leave things lying around. They're not like the most together people. One time I couldn't resist stealing a pair of metal snippers that I saw lying around in the subway. I still have them, and they're great. They're like the strongest metal cutters I've ever. They can cut a bolt. They're crazy. It's like you can't buy that at the hardware store. So anyway, the point is, I'm sure someone stole the key. It's the only explanation. Anyway, an off-duty transit worker reported the incident, and the cops arrived 2.5 hours later. Shockingly, she had already fled. I would say ambled off might be a better description at this point. I was like, 2.5 hour response time. What are they? The IDF on October 7th? Anyway, this is the fourth time this has happened since January of last year. Another woman, maybe the same woman, possibly, stole trains, and also some teenagers stole some trains. So the teenagers aren't
I think she was a serial train car.
The teenagers aren't as good at driving the subways, and they tend to crash them into the stations. So anyway, now the MTA is looking into biometric verification technology to enhance train security, because obviously the current lock and key system doesn't work. So these are, what's the word that we're looking for? Retards who run the MTA? That's the word.
So obviously an unauthorized person stole the car, the train car. However, she didn't exactly break into it. Is the takeaway.
She opened it and took off.
Right. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
So the map you just showed is like, now that's the one you just showed is far more frightening, because when that happened, that was on the 7 line. Someone drove the train from Manhattan all the way to the terminus in Queens in the Chinatown section of Flushing. And the point is, that's an elevated line. Okay. So if things, no, it's up. Yeah, it's outside most of the way. So in Queens, it's all outside.
On the rail.
Yeah, it's above the street. Like, so if you fuck up on an elevated, it goes off, it derails. It has happened. Okay. There's been some famous derailments from elevated trains. About 100 years ago, hundreds of people were killed in an incident like that. No one had stolen the train. The whole train came fell off the tracks and
onto the street below.
And killed a bunch of people. This happened in Williamsburg section of Brooklyn. It's a famous disaster. So the point is, we're lucky that this thief didn't derail the train. I mean, it passes over some really busy places. So
that's terrifying. Well, okay, first let me just point out whoever made this short. I need to grammar Nazi them, because they put a possessive, and that drives me absolutely insane.
It's very wrong.
Very insane. Please do not put an apostrophe when you're trying to convey a plural.
Only for the possessive.
Right. You're trying to convey a plural. Just put an S after it.
It could be a contraction, but that's not the case here. But anyway.
But that's not, they're trying to convey that this is a plural. Subways.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But it really isn't subways, right? It's a subway.
Subway singular would be better. Yes.
Yeah, I would agree. So look at this footage. I will give them props for making
Is this
this
all the? Is
short
all the?
video.
These are the graffiti days. That
Yeah.
I came to New York for. Yeah, 1981.
Look at that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, look at
yeah.
that.
Oh yeah, that's what they all looked like, all of them. But look how great.
that.
Look, come on, look at those transit cops with their leather jackets. Look how cool they look.
Everything looked so much cooler back then.
Yeah, it was squalid,
but it was cool.
It was cool. They're not letting you see the smell, and they're not letting you see all the shit on the ground. One of the only advantages of the demise of print media is the fact that there aren't newspapers all over the floor, all over the place anymore. People used to just throw their newspapers down on the ground, and then they would they would blow into the tunnels, and there would be fires all the time because they would touch the third rail, which is 600 volts, and then you're like in the tunnel, and suddenly you're in a train that's going through a smoky fire, and you think you're going to die. So it was like, very dangerous. So that's not going to happen as much with people on their phones.
I wanted to put up old video of old New York City, just because we're just talking about how now they want to do the biometric thing because idiots can't be keeping track of their damn keys.
Yeah.
Come on.
Morons.
So look at the 70s and 80s New York City. Like that's what I still think of in my head. Looking at this.
This is what it looked like when I moved here.
Yeah. So
I went to that Howard Johnson's at Times Square.
The Hojos. So in my mind, this is what the cops look like. This is what in my mind, like all these cars. This is what New York City looked like.
That's what the cops. That's what the cops used to look like. They looked better. This is
what I dreamt of.
Those uniforms are much better looking. Now they look like assholes with their stupid Kevlar. Not to mention, it's got to be incredibly uncomfortable. And an uncomfortable cop is going to be a grouchy cop. A grouchy cop is going to be a violent cop.
Look at this old New York City footage. I'm just sending us off because it's a Friday.
Yeah, that's 42nd Street with all the porno theaters. They used to all be. They all used, the names were all a parody of a legitimate movie. Like there'd be like the Bonfire of the Panties and stuff like that.
I know people are complaining. There are people that are complaining about, there's going to, on the one hand, people are complaining that New York City has been too gentrified, which I'm one of them. This is what I remember in my youth.
Mm-hmm.
This is the New York City I remember in my youth where you're always a little bit concerned that you're about to be mugged, that can your family be killed?
You were. Manila, one time when I did
versus now
for jury duty, they said, "Oh, this is going to be."
There's a train.
There were 120 prospective jurors. They needed 12, and they were like, "If this case involves violence, if you or someone close to you has been a victim of violence, please say so during the voir dire." The very first woman, they ask her, and she goes, "My husband was murdered," and they're like, "Sorry, ma'am.
Okay, you're dismissed.
You can go." And everyone had a story like that, me included.
Right.
Everybody. They just let everyone go. And it's like they were like they literally hadn't after 100. I remember after 120 people, they couldn't get a single juror. I remember listening to the prosecutor going, "It's going to be a long day."
Look, so there are look at that smoking in there. I'm sure you're glad about that. But
I am glad
so I'm of two minds. I loved as a kid New York City.
The old-fashioned Chinese places with
New York City. Yes.
The really oily food.
This is New York City still in my heart and in my mind because the New York City now is everything is like some $2 million loft if on the cheap
Studio
side.
54. I was there
everything
many times.
There's no more grit to it. There's no more.
We have grit, but that's all we've got is the problem. It's gritty. Believe me, it's gritty and shitty and pissy.
Though. Not like this. Not like what New York City looked like on like the Ghostbusters movies. Like that's what I still remember as a kid.
Honestly, it looks like that now.
Well, it's going back to that is my point. So a part of
me. You know what I'll do, Manila? I'm going to make a little video of my neighborhood and I'll upload it and we can show it on the show like on Monday. You'll see.
Like Ted, 20 years ago, where Columbia University is, I used to hang out at 98th and Amsterdam.
Why?
Because
What's at 98th in Amsterdam?
my then boyfriend, his apartment was there because he was at
Ah.
Columbia.
Okay, that's a reason.
So I remember I used to hang out like 4 o'clock in the morning. I'd go downstairs and sit down on the stoop and have a cigarette, right?
Mhm.
And there was shit happening. There was life.
Oh,
New York
sure.
had life.
Sure.
Not like that anymore at 2 in the morning.
Well, there'll be still someone taking a shit out in the street.
Well, no, I'm sure, but I mean back then, 25 years ago, when I'm outside at 4 in the morning on the stoop, there's like life. There was life at 4 o'clock in the morning.
COVID put a big,
and so New York City
stake through that.
It's not like that anymore.
Manila,
anyway, that's
you got to go.
It's time.
To go.
It is time. So I gotta go in New York City. Big Apple, I used to love you, but I grew out of you. You're not what I remember. That's it for us, guys. We'll be back on Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern time. Thank you for being here. Make sure you guys hit the like and the subscribe button. Have a wonderful weekend. I got lots of angry homeowner things to do this weekend, Ted. It's not over.
Go be angry.
It's not over.
Have fun.
Thanks for being here, guys. Bye.
Bye.
I got to hit the button. Hello.
Yeah,
Bye.
You do. Yeah, you do.